John Cleese once said, "If you want creative workers, give them enough time to play." This is the Producers Lounge podcast. Welcome back for Season 2, Episode 7, hosted and produced by GreaterAndGrander.com. On this week's episode, we're chatting with Doug Hatters, who has produced the cult classic children's show, Bagel and Becky, as well as served as head writer for a number of children's TV shows. And he's joined us today to give us tips and tricks on what he looks for when hiring young writers. Here now is my conversation with Doug Hatters.
All right, so I'll try to not shit talk other people.
Okay. Oh, no, definitely do that. Do that as much as possible.
Okay, I got a list somewhere of all the people. No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know you were Nixon in a previous life. That's
Just our charisma. That's all I retained from that past life.
So what do you I'm curious, are you in Canada right now or are you in LA?
Yeah, I'm in Canada, and I'm about it's a small community called Hanover. We're actually not in there. We're on an acreage about 2.5 hours northwest of Toronto.
Oh, wow.
So we're in the boonies. We are in the middle of nowhere, and I'm watching. I have my office window directly in front of me, and I'm just watching. A little bit of a blizzard. A lot of snow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't complain about the LA winter we're having, where it's gotten down to 50 degrees. It's
that's the worst. Oh no, what are you gonna do?
I don't know.
Might have to wear a jacket.
Yeah. Who knows, if it rains too bad, I might have to get a raft. I don't know.
Or an umbrella. The worst. The worst.
Yeah. So cool. So you grew up in Canada, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Saskatchewan, actually, which, it's essentially like north of North Dakota and populated by many of the same type of people. It's a very much a small community. Even the larger cities are, they're definitely Midwest feel to them. And but I grew up on a farm outside of Regina, Saskatchewan, and I lived there till I was about 16 with my family, and then I got the hell out of Dodge. From there, having never been anywhere like in my life except maybe like Calgary, Alberta, I packed up my bags and I moved to Hamilton, Ontario, which is just west of Toronto, just to get out of Dodge. A few thousand miles, and that's where my life started.
Wow. I was going to ask what was your favorite story about growing up on a farm, but it sounds like you just got out as soon as you could.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's the same thing that I am now. It's like all about physical labor.
Oh.
It's okay. I think it's it's a noble thing, but it's just really not my bag. And that's all living on a farm is and at the age of 14 and 15, it was it was a little constraining, and I decided to get out of there. It was but I mean, one of the nicest moments that I can think of while growing up on the farm is and this sounds so generic, but it's the skies. Because in Saskatchewan, there aren't a lot of trees, right? It's one of the flattest places in the world. And you can see pretty much, at least almost at all times, depending on where you are, you can see like all 3 or 4 horizons. What's amazing is at night, with no light pollution, because I was growing up on a farm, with no light pollution, you can see the sky in this panoramic reality.
Oh, wow.
And you can see everything. You can see northern lights, you can see the Milky Way. Everything is just clear as day. And I had a moment where I was just laying on the grass, staring up at the stars, when it occurred to me that it's just gravity that's keeping me from falling into that vast darkness of space. And no, I was not high. This is straight. And I actually had a mild panic attack at the moment, and I'm holding onto the grass with my hands to keep from falling to the earth. Yeah, I didn't get out a lot. I didn't have a lot of friends on the farms. You spend a lot of time in your mind.
Yeah. I can definitely identify with that. But yeah, that's amazing. And then you went to you said Calgary you moved to when you were 16, or?
Well, no, I moved to Hamilton. So I moved out east to Ontario, essentially. And yeah, just to get out, just to go out and experience the world, you know. And I worked for a telephone sales company. I mean, I took any job I could find, right?
Right.
And I started out doing just you know, kind of the worst jobs in existence. I was doing security work because I was a big guy. I was at the age of 14, I was 6'2" and 200 pounds almost. And so I started doing security work, and it took me all over Canada. Actually, one of my favorite spots was I got to guard against Greenpeace when I was I was sent to a northern bush camp, and they were spraying for budworms or for things that were laying waste to entire forests. But Greenpeace had a problem with that. And so I was one of the, I don't know, 3 or 4 people that went up there to guard against Greenpeace. And there was no chance they were coming up there. Also, I was a member of Greenpeace at the time. So, you know, yeah, it was a bit of a thing, but I enjoyed the hell out of that. That was my first taste of Northern Ontario. And now I live in Northern Ontario. So it's all come full circle.
That's amazing. And then eventually you did get into radio, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
It was from there, actually. From there, I moved back home to Saskatchewan, and got an apartment. And I discovered radio. There was a broadcast school, PBTI, Prairie Broadcast Training Institute, which no longer exists. And I got into radio, and it was just a fit. It was just a good fit. I've got my dad's voice. My dad has a really resonant, beautiful baritone voice, and I got a little bit of that. And then, so that was a natural fit for radio. And you know, being a young guy, I think I got into radio at like 19. So I was, still an idiot. I mean, I'm still an idiot, right? But I mean, that was that was like a badge, though, of idiocy, you know, when you're that age. And that leans towards radio quite well. So my first job in radio was in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, which is essentially Alaska. It's just east of Alaska. So I went as far north in Canada as you can, as far as the city goes. And that was an eye opener. That was pretty amazing. And we got to play, it was an adult contemporary station. So lots of Phil Collins, lots of U2. And then they hired a new program director who he and I just hated each other from the moment we saw each other. It was just visceral. And he was making my life hell. So I decided that was enough. And I quit on air.
Oh, wow.
which is a dream. You know, I mean, just the stupidity and the guts that it takes of youth, you know, that it takes to be able to do something like that. But yeah, I said Yellowknife. I had a great time, had a blast. Fortunately, they hired a dickhead for a new program director, and that's it for me. And then I played a song from a Canadian band called Trooper, and the song's called "We're Here for a Good Time, Not a Long Time." And then I just grabbed my headphones and left the building, and that was the last I saw of that place.
I gotta ask, if we go back though, how did you wind up getting that job in the first place? Because for me personally, like, and I think for a lot of people in LA, they're like, yeah, I would love a job as a radio DJ. That would be amazing, and it's very competitive. And you just landed it. I mean,
I like I said, I went to the broadcast school, to the PBTI, and so that gives you a lead, right? That gives you you can do an internship. right? And I did that at a Saskatoon radio station in just northern Saskatchewan. And then from there, I just sent out my tapes, right? There was no email at that time. What would this be? This would be 1988, 1989.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I just sent you make a bunch of cassette tapes with your demo that you edited in a sound booth somewhere, and you send it off. And yeah, these guys hired me sight unseen, and we never even did an interview. They just said, you're up, come on up. And I did, and I worked overnights for the longest time, and eventually worked my way. Within about a year and a half, I was doing the afternoon drive. And then they hired Barry, that unlikable fellow. Can I swear? How much can I swear?
Go for it.
I feel like I shouldn't
say
swear.
Whatever you want.
Oh, what a douchebag he was. He was the worst. And he had this giant mole, and you couldn't stop staring at his mole. And I no offense to anybody who has a mole. You know what? I mean, it was just riveting. It's like the mole was the thing that came first, and then the rest of Barry was just a cancerous growth that grew out from the mole. It's kind of, so you can tell I kind of dislike this guy a little bit.
Just a tad.
Just a tad.
Oh man. And then after radio, I really want to dive into your now as far as calendar wise, when you left the radio station, it sounds like it was around 1920 that you were 1920, not the year 1920.
Oh yeah. At my age. I gotcha. Yes. I'm not fast.
But yeah, and then you got involved in television up in Canada. Was that an easy transition to go from radio?
Well, no, there was a number of years in between the two. I mean, I got into theater for a little while, and then I got into a government job, being a webmaster of all things, and then which was a great job. It was a government job. It's the kind of job that you can't, because it's unionized. You couldn't lose your job if you punched the boss in the face. You could do anything and you'd have that job. So in other words, I was set for life with that job. And my wife also had a government job working at a royal museum.
Oh, wow.
And then I discovered this was about 2 years after Phil Hartman had passed away. And from SNL.
Yeah.
And I saw I was just surfing on the net, and I discovered this course called the Humber School of Comedy. And I thought, oh, who's going to teach you how to be funny? Right. And then I looked up the board of directors for the course, though, was Eugene Levy, Dave Thomas, Andrea Martin, oh my God, Dave Thomas, everybody that was, SCTV and Second City Comedy, and these guys are gods. And so I took the course. And I graduated from there. This was, what year would this be? Well, this is year 2000. I won the Phil Hartman Award while graduating, which was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
And then from there, I partnered up with another guy that was in the class, a writer named Adam Rothstein. And Adam and I got together, and our humble beginnings were like, do you want to write something together? And he's like, okay. And that's our origin story. It's as exciting as that. And then we did, and we wrote a movie called Magic Monsters and Motorhomes, which never saw the light of day. But not a good movie, but it just, in my opinion, still one of the best titles of a movie that we've ever come up with. And then we landed a job just doing through open submissions at a production company in Canada called Nelvana. They were saying that anybody can pitch an animated series. And
that's incredible.
Anybody can pitch, just no credits, whatever, I think they expected to get mostly mountains and mountains of crap. But maybe there would be something in there. And so Adam and I came up with an idea and we pitched it. And then we were surprised when we got a phone call from Jocelyn Hamilton, who was the head of Nelvana Creative at that time. And she invited us for dinner. And so we went, and she said, I loved the piece that you guys developed. We're like, wow, that's amazing. And she goes, I loved it so much, but, I mean, we'll never make it. But, like, oh, because it's essentially our idea was essentially taking the concept of like the A team, or Reds or any kind of superhero team, and set that in the world of fables and nursery rhymes. So people like characters from those stories would populate this team that went around and helped everybody else out in the world of fables and nursery rhymes. So I mean, I thought, so like there's the big bad wolf's brother, and the fairy godmother was sort of like the head of this crime syndicate, and then literally as we were pitching that show around, Shrek came out, which is essentially, it's not the A team, but it's this fantasy, it's all that, so they did it, and they did it so well. But she said, so we're not going to make it, but would you like to work on one of our other shows? And we said, fuck yes. And we did, and we've been employed working in the industry ever since. We didn't actually actively pursue animation. We tripped and fell backwards into it, and we've been doing it for 20 years now.
That's incredible. What would you say? I
said, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's very grateful that it even happened. Could just as easily not.
Yes. So I gotta ask, in your time working in animation, what is the most important thing about comedy in writing TV animation and kids animation?
I think the biggest thing is character. Everything starts with character. You can have a cool concept, let's say The Matrix, which is a brilliant concept, and a metaphor for our current technology addicted society and all that. But at the end of the day, you still have to have characters that change, that grow, that learn, that feel. We need that relatable side for people to care. Otherwise, it's just an abstract concept, and there's no depth to it. And so that's the same thing for movies, for 1 hour dramas. It's all about the character. And it's the same thing with the type of animation that Adam and I have been doing, which is an 11-minute, about 8 to 11 age range for kids. And it's all comedy driven. So it's all stupid, silly stuff. Nobody learns anything. Neither the characters nor anybody watching ever learns a thing. But the idea is to make them laugh so hard that they spit milk out of their nose. And so that's our goal. And but even so, even if it's an 11-minute piece, you still have to have character. You still have to care about these people. And then your story, of course, comes next, where you have to have a beginning, a middle, and a satisfying end. And so that translates all the way across, no matter what you're writing. Got it.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I did watch some of your stuff in preparation for this, and it is very clear that there is a character arc in each episode. There is a beginning, a middle, and end. There are character flaws that the characters have that are relatable, and we can empathize with them.
Well, exactly. Like, for instance, one of our favorite shows, it was the show that we were executive producers on. So we were in charge of the creative on this show. It's called Bagel and Becky, the Bagel and Becky show. And we were in charge of the creative from pitching the show concept right until the final cut of the final draft, the final cut of the final edit before it goes to air.
Mm-hmm.
So we had full say on all creative aspects of the show, casting, the writing, the artwork, everything. And so what's nice about that is that you get that show then gets one voice, meaning that it's all unified. It all feels like it comes from the same place, right? And you get to be able to, because often when the way it's normally done is the writers write, it then goes into the hands of the producers disseminate that to the artists then start taking a crack at it, and the director comes in, and so it's kind of a little bit like telephone tag, right? Where you start to lose bits of stuff in the translation. And because we got to do it from beginning to end, for me, that was hands down the best show that we've ever done. And speaking about character, I got to actually play one of the characters on the show, and it was Percy. It was the little pigeon. And he was one of the saddest but funniest characters that we had, because all he wanted was just friends. He just wanted Bagel and Becky to be his friend. That's all it is. And so, and they're not mean. They're just oblivious to him. But we got to see some real character changes for him, and a little bit of growth. And we just got to see how his complex world, his parents, I mean, it's so heavy for a kid's cartoon. Clearly adults are writing it, but I mean, his parents left him when he was young, and he had a long lost brother that didn't want to have anything to do with him. He was the saddest character, but I think people just loved him because of that, because everybody kind of feels like that loser. Everybody kind of feels like they're left out sometimes, right? And he just lives that. That's his entire life.
And you work on that with, and I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Adam?
Adam Rothstein. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. And then, so you start pitching and working in 2003, and then you get to Bagel and Becky, which I believe is started in 2016.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that, what was that growth process from starting in writing in Canada, moving up to executive producer eventually? Like, was it a hard process, or was it eventually like you got to a point of seniority in the industry and people just knew, like, oh yeah, him and Adam, they're the guys there?
A little bit of that, it's both, right? Because you have to bust your ass. You can't, the moment you stop working, or the moment you stop getting your face out there, or your name out there, the industry it forgets quite quickly, just a reality, because it's a non-living entity. It's just an industry. It doesn't owe us anything. And but it was a lot of work. We busted our ass on a lot of shows where our primary position in our careers has been predominantly executive story editor, which translates to essentially head writer. So we hire the writers on it. Like a show will hire us, and we'll hire all the writers, and we'll manage all the writers. And then the writers write everything, and those scripts come to us first, and we filter them and then send them off. So, we spent a lot of time in those trenches, and, but it's not, can't complain, it's gotten me a couple mortgages, it's paid for a couple mortgages. But then Adam and I had sort of developed the reputation of being the kind of like, or at least, the upper tier. I don't want to make it sound like I'm bragging or anything, but we did establish a reputation as being comedy, kids comedy. And which is great until the industry shifts. And they went more emotion based with a lot of their shows. And so just like the weird, like there was another great show, we didn't work on it, but it was called Pig, Goat, Banana, Cricket, which though the name just right there says that it's a weird show, stuff from out of left field. It's very comedy based. Those shows sort of took a downturn in popularity. And then that, we ride that, right? You do what you can. And then we managed to land Bagel and Becky, which was amazing. And hands down, one of the best experiences we've ever had. But during this whole thing, you don't let anything go idle. So we've been sitting down and developing our own material, as opposed to just working for other people. And we've optioned a couple of those shows, and they're still being pitched around, and so on. And those things never die. You can always just take them off the shelf, dust them off, and resubmit them to new people. But yeah, a lot of work. Of work. Well, like I said, the best part about it was we got creative control of the show, and we were given free reign, so it survives, or it lives or dies by us, which is nice. It's scary, and then the truth is, it lasted one season, right? And there's a thousand reasons, a thousand excuses, sort of thing. But I mean, there was a bit of a culling at the network, and they chopped like 5 shows, all new shows, were there for 1 year, and they chopped them all at once. So and then you never hear why. You don't know exactly what's going on, but it was an amazing experience. This was the first time that we had gotten that much control on a show, and it's one of those things, be careful what you wish for, because the amount of work then quadrupled from just worrying about story. You have to worry about everything, and you have to be on call for everything, and which was all exciting, and it was all a ton of fun to do. But at the end of the day, you've got no energy left. You fall asleep, you get up the next morning, and you go again.
You mentioned, like, it's important to get out there and keep your face out there. Besides working jobs and writing, obviously, what are some of the tactics you used for, like, say, networking? Say, like, would you make sure people are called, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks? Is there a kind of rhythm you got into? Or?
I don't think there was a specific pattern. I mean, we just made sure that we were at all of the, or at least as many as we can go to, a lot of the events. Okay. A lot of the writer events, a lot of the things from the Writers Guild of Canada, the WGC. They would hold events, and then once web stuff started to become very predominant, you just make sure that you're there for the gatherings if you can. And every once in a while, you just call up people and you just go for coffee. You just shoot the shit to make your presence known, and so it's not heavy pressure where you just go and then you have to pitch something, because that sort of puts a bit of tension in it. So just go, don't have any agenda, just relax, and people enjoy that. It gets them out of their office, for a break. And but make yourself known, and it's especially when you're first starting out. Networking is everything. It is the only way you're going to get work. I mean, we got lucky. We did an open submission thing, and that does happen every once in a while. But really, it's all about who you know. It's a big industry in Canada, but it's also really small. Like, everybody knows everyone. And so get out, because if somebody comes to me and they're looking for a job, and if I don't have a show going right then, I will recommend them to somebody else if I like them. Right. So if you're a young up and comer, I highly recommend that you just be a pleasure. just be try to just be very personable if you can. I mean, I know that's sort of tough for people that don't have that tendency, but it's a muscle. You have to work it out, just like anything else.
Got it. Okay. A muscle that a lot of people need to work out now that the pandemic is finally ending and we've been cooped up for 2 years.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it's ending.
Yeah.
Jesus, Omicron, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, we'll see how that all plays out. But yeah, it's been really weird. The pandemic's been really weird as far as the industry goes. We've been it's changed a lot. Like, I do some voicing for animation as well, and for commercials, and so I actually had to build a sound booth in my house.
Oh wow.
And that's common now. Most of the professional voice people have all got a studio now at home, because now we voice cartoons from home, because I don't have to go into town. I don't have to get exposed to 80 people between my house and by the time I'm done the voice record. And so that's been a unique thing. And then just having, the weirdest thing is the social gatherings on Zoom. It's just I've yet to see a successful format for that. It's just a bunch of people that are all on the screen at the same time, and you pretty much have to take turns talking with people, like, because if it's just otherwise it's just a cacophony and nobody knows who is talking to who. And it is so strange. And people, bless their hearts, people are trying. People like producers are in the industry are trying to find ways to connect. And Zoom is not it's a good one-on-one. It's a group thing.
Yeah.
Hasn't made it yet. So it's the way it goes. It's fun though. Again, you know what? For me, animation, working in animation is way better than having a real job. For sure. Like I've done real jobs. Like You've done
security. Yeah.
I've done security. I've done construction. I've worked in a parking lot. I've mopped floors. Those are all legitimate labor jobs. And I am very happy to not be doing any of that anymore.
Yeah.
we had our hands held through that whole process as far as scheduling and looking at spreadsheets and what, projected completion dates and when everything had to be done. And they just they knew we weren't the smartest. Like we weren't the numbers guys. So they sort of held our hands and stroked our hair as they talked about scheduling and,
That's funny because that's actually entirely my background. Like I went to film school wanting to be a producer. And so I came out with a strong knowledge of budgeting and scheduling and logistics and all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But that is also funny. Also, but the most important thing I learned actually did not come from any of those producing classes. It came from when I was working for Penny Marshall, because that was my first job out of film school.
Cool.
Yeah. And basically she said the most important thing you need to know is how to get the actress out of her trailer. So she taught me that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. She was amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was I was always a big fan. I just liked her. She kind of felt like I was related to her. She's got that easygoing, but like unstoppable sort of feel to her, anyways.
Oh, no question. Like working for her was amazing because she was like unstoppable is the perfect word to describe her, because she was just constantly like, I worked for her when she was in her 60s. Yeah. And she was still looking at a lot of like directing opportunities. So, but yeah. But I did also want to ask you more about like the executive story editor stuff. Like your latest upcoming piece is Alien TV. Now, according to IMDb, and I don't want you to reveal any sensitive information or get anybody in trouble.
Sure.
But Alien TV started in 2020. What is the current status of it?
As far as I know, so it's on Netflix. It's it has they call it 2 seasons, but really it was 1 season that they doled out in 2 portions. And we don't know. We're waiting to see whether or not Netflix is interested. I mean, we did hear that there was a really good response to Alien TV, and if you look online, there's nothing but good things said about it. So that's great. But we are in the dark. Netflix is they play their cards very close to the chest, and so we don't know. We honestly don't know. So I think that we would be willing to jump on it if it rolled again. But this industry is odd. You can't count on anything. It doesn't even matter if it's a hit. Anything can evaporate. Anything can disappear at any time. Oh, just a reality. Yeah. I mean, especially when you add that on top of that, it's interesting when a production company, when you go to pitch a production company, they'll take on, I don't know, whatever, say 10 productions a year. And of those 10 productions that they'll do development on, probably, maybe 3 of them they'll keep and they'll then try to market it around to the networks. Well, the networks then will get pitched, 25, 30 shows. And of those 25, 30 shows, they'll pick up 2. And that's for the season. And then, they'll pick up 3 and they'll do development on them, but then only maybe 2 go to air. Mm-hmm. And so if you just look at the odds are like about 1 in 100 if you get, and that's a show that your show will get made. And that's if you've already got money in development with a production company. So by definition, almost all shows that are in development will not get made. So it's a sobering thought, right? Mm-hmm. But you just have to keep plugging. You just have to keep developing stuff. And at some point, something will hit. Like for Adam and I, we've had 5 shows that have come to the just waiting for green light. This is over the length of our career. Mm-hmm. Just waiting for a green light, just waiting, because it's been developed, it's been well received. And then 100 different reasons why something doesn't make it. It's just the way it goes. So Adam and I have actually never had an original series of our own on the air, which is just, for me, I think wildly frustrating, but that's just the nature of the business. That's just the way it goes.
What's the most ridiculous reason you've ever been given for something not going to air?
Oh, somebody was off sick. Mm-hmm. The network person was off sick, or at least that's what we were told. And then, and we were just waiting for them to come back so we could be greenlit. And then all of a sudden we get a letter from the network saying that person has been replaced. So there's a new person, and that new person has just cleaned the slate, starting from scratch. And that literally, it's like one sentence, and it's all over on one sentence. Wow. But that happens, right? Because a new person comes in, they really want to make their mark. They want the shows to be theirs. They want to have their imprint on it. So I get it. I mean, it sucked on our side, but that's the way it goes.
Right. And in the meantime, you're still working executive story editor. Let me ask, when working as an executive story editor and head writer, what tactics do you use to manage the writer's room? Because honestly, that's something I don't have a lot of experience in. And I've always been very curious, because you're managing a bullpen of writers and, artists in general, not always great about taking criticism, but but how do you work in that leadership role?
Well, I'll tell you, I learned something pretty early on when I took in this comedy course. There was a sitcom writing class, and the teacher of that class was is Lauren. His name is Lauren Froman, and he's a Hollywood writer. He worked on, but back in a while ago, and like he worked on like Dolly Parton's sitcom, her variety show.
Wow.
And he worked for Richard Pryor too, right? So he has some creds. Anyways, we had to write a spec script, and then it was dissected in class by everybody. We do a read through and everybody, and then he would give notes on stuff. And Lauren was giving me notes, and I'm like, getting my back up because I completely disagree with him, and I think he's full of shit, and I don't think he knows what the fuck he's talking about. He's old. He doesn't know how to write modern stuff. By the way, the modern stuff was oh my God, everybody loves Raymond. Right? So it's not super modern now, but and he looks at me and he goes, "Hatters, why aren't you writing stuff down?" And I said, "Well, because I didn't realize it was dictation." Like it's snotty, like the jerk that I kind of was. And he says, "Of course it's dictation, you bastard. Just write the shit down. I'm telling you, this is what happens in the industry. When your story editor tells you to write something down, you write it down. And it's as simple as that." Now, that's a little authoritarian sounding. What Adam and I'll talk for myself. What I like a very comfortable and relaxed writing room.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all about really having really good energy and having a lot of fun and, allowing people to speak their mind on any topic. And there really are no dumb ideas, unless they're dumb, and then we'll mock the living shit out of you. But, but really, even dumb ideas can spark good ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just like to keep it really nice and calm. But at the end of the day, I am the wrangler.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make sense out of what everybody else is pitching and suggesting, and again, it has to come down all to sounding the same. All the episodes have to sound like they're written by the same voice.
Mm-hmm.
But I fully encourage everybody to just to speak up, throw any ideas out at any time. And then, then you get those writers that are silent.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes time for them to pitch their story idea, they will pitch their story idea and then they will go silent. And because they're just that Woody Allen sort of quiet,
Mm-hmm.
introspective kind of person. But those guys are invaluable because every once in a while, they'll just say, how about we make the ball red instead of blue? And then you'll go, well, Christ, of course, and they'll come out with nuggets. So, I'm adaptable to anybody's writing style, but this gets back to something that I mentioned before briefly
Mm-hmm.
is all writers should do their best to make sure that they are a pleasure to work with. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean ass kissy. I don't mean deferential. I don't mean be that, but I'm just saying, just be like a real person and don't be the negative person. Because there's always that writer that sort of loves to do the gotcha moments where they will trip up an entire story. They'll point out a flaw, which will crush the story,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't have a suggestion of how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And so those kinds of writers, I don't have a lot of time for. And so I just don't hire them back, right? That's just the way it goes. But be a pleasure to work with. I mean, I know guys I know one guy specifically, he's a really amazing writer. He's really good. He wrote one of the funniest scripts that I've ever read, but he has a chip on his shoulder for some reason, and he's just super abrasive and kind of misogynistic and just that kind of energy he just brings to the room. And I know that there are some story editors that can handle that, and they manage those type of people, but oh my God, that's just too much work for me. So be nice, be a good person, be happy, be energetic if you can, and that will, I think, allow you to flourish in the industry.
And that is Season 2, Episode 7 of the Producers Lounge podcast. Thank you to my guest, Doug Hatters, for joining us. You can find out more about him by checking out the show notes and visiting our website at greaterandgrander.com. Our intro and outro music today was Snowbound by Dennis Mitcheltree. Our episode still image is by Ricardo Tomas on Greater and Grander. If you have any questions or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the episode comments. You can stay up to date by following us on social media at the handle Greater Grander, all one word. Join us next week for more cocktails and questions, and until then, keep producing dreams.